You really need to just... Hi, this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Philosophical Coffee. And if you are new to my channel, I am different. I am a scientist, a cartographer of the internal expanse. So let me summarize that. Let me put that in common perspective for you. I am a philosopher, psychologist, sociologist of 30 years with a whole lot of other knowledge crammed into my head. And I take basically the journey health plan that I used for myself to cure my mental illness, and I simplify it and condense it down here and break it down to show you how you can cure your mental illness, because I did with mine. And this is how I did it. So I'm not sure. I'm coming in today without a plan. Well, I go in every day without a plan. So we're going to talk for a bit on intuitive logic, because intuitive logic is really amazing. And it's something I love. We talk about intuition all the time and that gut feeling and instinct. And this is an old hat in philosophy. It's called intuitive logic. And it is linked to and is part of your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is absolutely one of the fractions of the intuitive logic. You also have your internal logical understanding of the world, which is why things make sense or they don't. And actually, that is what we are saying whenever we say, well, that doesn't make sense. It's because it's rubbing against your intuitive logic. So your circadian rhythm is part of it. Your internal logic. I really want to call it something else. And this has not been broken down in depth. It's there logically, and philosophy has it. But more and more, the science is here, the logic is here, and I know physics can prove it. I know, I can feel it because my intuition logic says so. And the more educated you become, the more mathematical, physics-minded, scientific you become, the more tuned into it, the sharper it gets. So you can groom your intuitive logic. And when you feel something, when something just feels good or it feels bad, that is your intuitive logic. That is the same thing and we're talking primitive scales. So my hypothesis is that we are just so used to being part of, and that's it, is we are symbiotic to the natural logic and natural math. Bottom line is there is a natural logic and we're symbiotic to it. And by the time we are 2 years old, we are tuned into it, which is where we develop our circadian rhythm. And it's why when things don't feel right. It's when something doesn't make sense. So it's a combination of the mathematical rhythm. It is the physics and the frequency. It's the energy. And it is also your logic. And until you study that stuff in depth, you just don't know how deeply embedded into it it is. And that's really it is embedded logic. And it is supposed to replace our fear system, so that when we're born, we have a fear system in place that's supposed to be active until our intuitive logic kicks in and then sharpens. And then from there, once we develop our intuition, because you have to be here on the planet for like a year and a half to 2 years before it starts to work. Once it starts to work, then you're supposed to switch over to problem solving, which really works out well for us until parents, teachers, society, governments interfere. And when the interference occurs, it derails everything. And when the derailing happens, it actually keeps our fear system active. And then the more abused you are, the more your fear system takes over. But if you switched over to your intuitive logic and your problem solving, you're fine. Now, intuitive logic, and this is something I absolutely love, intuitive logic is there regardless. It never really goes away. It does get tuned in more and more to mathematical bad. So as you are exposed to horrible things, you get that computation into your system. So you more and more become aware. Then this is where we develop what people call a sixth sense. the sixth sense is actually your intuitive logic. Yeah. And it's just your heightened intuitive logic because mathematically you've had it embedded into you so much that you're really sensitive to bad energy or not good people. You can feel bad vibes. And it's all because you've had it honed even more so for military purposes, military war purposes, for abuse situations. So once you understand how that all plays a role into it, your fear system, it can work incompatible. It can be compatible with your intuition and logic, but fear has a nasty way of, because it lacks authority, it puts the control ahead of the power and the authority. And that's where it really interferes with your belief system, which is what I covered yesterday. So I really don't know what I want to talk about today. Like I wanted to talk about that, but I'm at a point in my work in the background where yesterday was a huge day. After I did philosophical coffee, I stepped away from it and I just went to work on this diagram. I saw everything. So I my whole life I've been developing these things, and they really started to take shape in May of 2022. That was when it really hit me. I had an event that came to me, and it was like, oh, I see a cog, and oh, I see a washer, and oh, I see a piston. And I started to work on these 5 pieces. And every day I would get in, and literally every day since May of 2022, and I would just polish and shape and sharpen the cog, the washer, the screw, the cog, the washer, the screw. And yesterday I had this massive implosion in my brain of just, oh, they're all pieces of the same machine that fit together. And I could see how they fit. And so I put them together yesterday, and now I've got this contraption, this gadget. I have a gadget. And I don't know what to call this thing. It has no name yet. I can point to it and say, well, here's your 12 ethics of perspective growth, and here's your philosopher's compass, and here's your 7-part mental system. Okay. And I can definitely see your life titans here. But yeah, and I see the map of the subconscious mind. So what is this thing called? And I don't know what this thing is called. So I got to name it this morning. I got to name it. I love naming shit. I got a thing here. It's like I don't know. It's abstract. Of course, it's abstract. Oh, this is abstract. It's abstract. I don't know what this thing is. I have no idea. So this is my gadget. I'm gonna put it on my shelf. So I have a gadget, and I'm trying to figure out gizmo. Gizmo. It's my gizmo gadget. I'm gonna call it a gizmo gadget because I love those words. Gizmo gadget. It's my gizmo gadget. I have no idea what this thing is. So yeah. Yeah. So that's my work right now. And I read an article. There's a lot that happened in the background. Basically, what we are looking at, what my team and I are looking at, is we are getting ready to distribute this globally. That's what we're doing. We are looking at distribution. And we have those who must not be named in our way. We're gonna go to code here. We have those who must not be named in our way. And we're trying to figure out how to get around them. And this is why I think that this is why I'm who I am, is because I'm under the radar right now. Basically, I am very much under the radar. So we found a way in to get this to a distributor, and we're getting ready we're preparing it. We've got the research facilities that we are now reaching out to. We're all pulling everything together. And I have my books. So I have 3 books planned. The first book is Theory of Love, which I am working on right now, and it's half done. The Theory of Love is the summation of all of this. So February 14th is the release date. And it basically breaks down all of this, including my gizmo gadget. So it's a DIY healing. It's 100% a DIY healing program. It's not even a program. It's just a DIY book, a self-help book that allows you to plug it right in. And then it's going to have a corresponding workbook. The workbook is called Journey into the Self. And so it's Theory of Love and Journey into the Self. And those two books, when combined, is literally a workbook walkthrough, 90 days, 90 pages. And that corresponds with the Theory of Love. Now, some people are going to read Theory of Love and be fixed. And we were already seeing it. It's extraordinary. I got updates this morning. One person, one of my case studies, she read my article on narcissism, and it cured her PTSD. And she's a vet, and it cured it. She's like, it's gone. She's had no nightmares. She's had all symptoms are gone. It's just logical comprehension. You have mental illness because you lack logical comprehension. That's it. Logical comprehension prevents cognitive dissonance. So if you have logical comprehension, you're fine. If you have poor logic, it's going to be a problem. If you have sharp logic, but you don't understand how things have been altered, if you can't understand if you don't understand the omniscient point of view, you're going to develop cognitive dissonance. So correct this, and the cognitive dissonance goes away, the mental illness goes away. So it's just logical comprehension. That is literally the cure to all mental health, is logical comprehension. There's the cure. And the problem is we have a bunch of people who do not know. They don't know the logical comprehension behind mental illness. I do, because I'm a logician, a philosopher, a scientist, psychologist, and I had multiple personality disorder. So I got to live in my head for 32 years and see shit that people didn't see. I'm very comfortable with the abstract world. I am only comfortable with the abstract world. I don't like the material plane. It's not nice to me. So logical comprehension is the cure to mental illness. The more you understand, which is why we say things like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, is because when things don't make sense, it conflicts with your internal 7-part mental system. And you've got 7 parts there. So if a union divided cannot stand. So when we don't understand something, you have a divided union. When you do not understand something, that's going down as one of my quotes today. When you do not understand something, you have a divided union. I'm going to try something a little different today because I don't want to let me see here. When you have a divided union, I lost the thought. Yeah, when you have a divided union, you lose logical comprehension. And that's it right there. You must have logical comprehension. I know where I can put these things. I have a post that I do every time I do philosophical coffee. There we go. This is going to be I love this. All right. So when I do my philosophical coffees, every time I do these at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every morning. It's approximate. I don't follow the rigid schedule of the man. So I do philosophical coffee from about 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every morning, Monday through 7 days a week, 7 days a week, 7 days a week. And it doesn't matter if I have something to talk about or not. So if I have casual days, I will just sit here and shoot the shit. If most days I have something to talk about, or I use exploratory dialogue. I have people who I will be bringing on later. And we're going to really crank up our tech here at some point very soon this year. We have a lot coming. A lot's going to be doled out. So we have a lot of plans ahead for the Healing Garden, for philosophical coffee, and for exploratory dialogue. So that's pretty much it. But it's 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 days a week. Yeah. And usually sometimes it's closer to 8:30. I want to say it's almost 8:30. It's approximately 8:30 to 9 a.m. And it's about 2 hours long. It's anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours. And it covers basically your logical comprehension. But while I'm doing this, I have a post on my website where I put my summation for the day. It's my article. I always do an article either before or after the show. And it usually is the summary or it's related to the show. And then I have my philosophical coffee. And then I go write my book, Theory of Love. So in addition to, back to my books. So I'm doing Theory of Love. That's releasing on February 14th. and then I'm doing my journey into the self, and that's going to be the workbook that corresponds. There's going to be a third book that I'm writing, and I don't know the name of it yet, but this third book is going to be written for psychologists, healers, and therapists. This is for anyone who wants to be a practitioner, a light worker, anyone who wants to have a private practice so that they can help people through this process. I'm going to call them just light workers, basically Triadic Healing, or I'm sorry, the Healing Garden light workers. And what this book does is it's basically a therapist's guide or a healer's guide. I'm going to call it a healer's guide. I'm going to come up with the book title right now. It's a healer's guide to Triadic Healing. Triadic Healing is the name of the program. And that's it, the healer's guide to Triadic Healing. And it's going to be basically the workbook. So if a psychologist says, hey, I want to use Triadic Healing for my people, they can buy the healer's guide, and they can they basically give theory of love and journey into the self to their patients. And it is going to be and is designed to be DIY. It's also highly compatible with all therapy. I am going to say this for the millionth time. I do not condone hypnotherapy, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. If you, I cannot tell you how, I lived in the subconscious mind for 32 years. Me. And had my alter, Joanna, who did not know that she was an alter. She thought, she didn't know she had multiple personalities. So had she gone to a hypnotherapist to say, hey, I want X taken care of, me, I would have been like compromised. Don't fuck around with the subconscious mind unless you know the subconscious mind. I know the subconscious mind, and I have certain ethical rules that I follow. And I'm going to tell you these right now because these are vital. The first rule with the subconscious mind, I'm going to write these down on my post today. The first rule, the rules of the subconscious mind. Don't fuck. There you go. Don't fuck with the subconscious mind. Don't fuck with the subconscious mind. You don't fuck with it. You don't fuck with it. And hypnotherapy fucks with it. 2 is you do not bully. You do not bully the subconscious mind. You cannot bully it. And because when you bully the subconscious mind, when you bully with the subconscious mind, you actually you reinforce your own trauma. It cannot, you have to negotiate with it. You have to use logic. You must use logic, not force, to not coerce, but and not persuade, to win over the subconscious mind. I have my own subconscious mind right now that I'm thinking about, and you can't bully it. You absolutely cannot bully the subconscious mind, because when you bully the subconscious mind, when you force it, you are literally, you must preserve the union. You must preserve the union. That is the first rule of the subconscious mind, is you have to preserve the union. And when you bully it, when you bully the subconscious mind, when you fuck with it, when you manipulate it, you are not preserving the union. You are literally creating the war. And when you don't preserve the union, you end up with cognitive dissonance every time. Every time. It traumatizes the subconscious mind, which convinces the subconscious mind that it needs to become more rogue against you. It is literally a civil war. I cannot express that enough. It is literally a civil war of the self. I talk about this a lot in, this is actually the introduction in Theory of Love, is explaining the depths of this mindset. So these are the rules that I follow with the subconscious mind. And hypnotherapy breaks these rules. Bottom line, hypnotherapy breaks these rules, which is why I do not condone it. So basically, if you are a healer, yeah, there we go. So if you are a healer, or you want to take this into your own practice, I will have the Healer's Guide to Triadic Healing, where people will be, where psychologists, healers, therapists, light workers can take the book and they can work side by side with their patients. And it's basically an overview of, forget everything you think you know about psychology, because this breaks all the rules. This absolutely is, it breaks all the rules. Cognitive behavioral therapy is still 100% valid. Absolutely. This is 100% compatible with cognitive behavioral therapy. In fact, I condone cognitive behavioral therapy because cognitive behavior, who did this? I got to look him up. Hold on a minute. Let me look up who did this. Who invented cognitive behavioral therapy? Because this man is a genius. Who did it? Ah, thank you. Nim. Nim will tell me who did this. Aaron Beck. Aaron Beck, you beautiful man. What a genius. All right, Aaron Beck. Aaron Beck has my love. Aaron Beck. I want to learn everything about Aaron Beck. This man had shit figured out. Why was he so different? He is regarded as the father of cognitive therapy. Yep, cognitive behavior therapy, his pioneering methods are widely used in treatment of clinical depression. Yeah, this man is fucking amazing. Taking a look here, Providence, Jewish, Ukraine. Providence is Eastside, Blackstone. I want to know where he went to school. Where's his, he graduated magna cum laude. Where? Brown University. Oh, right. Yeah, he is fucking extraordinary when it, like, I condone his work. Private practice, yeah. Cognitive therapy. Working with depressed patients, Beck found that experienced streams of negative thoughts that seem to arise spontaneously. Yep. He turned these cognitive automatic thoughts and discovered that their content fell into three categories: negative ideas about oneself, the world, and the future. He's okay. So Beck's work, I commend. Woohoo! And I'm going to tell you right now, that is Beck highlighted the classical philosophical Socratic method as an inspiration. My God, I love this shit. See, philosophy works. All right, so Beck, yeah. Oh my God. This is. I gotta send this to my. Oh my God. I gotta text somebody right now. This is, I have a friend who's a psychologist and she follows my work. She's my peer. I love her work. She loves my work. Just a minute here. Beck. This is extraordinary. Beck, the father of cognitive behavioral therapy. So cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah. He was a philosopher. Yeah, that's it. Bottom line, extraordinary man. So I'm huge on cognitive behavioral therapy. It's something I absolutely like. Yes, that they got this right. Beck has this right, and wouldn't you know, he's a philosopher. So basically, what's going on with cognitive behavioral therapy is you have your catalyst, and then you have your response. It's a reaction time, and urgency, time. Our concept of time, and this is research I'm doing right now. So in every trauma patient, every single one of them, what I've noticed is the abuse of time. Time is the abuser's number one tool. And the reason why is because if you don't stop to think, you can't question. So they use urgency to abuse you, to get things done. And this is done in our society on so many levels. Make sure you're to work at time, make sure that you're checking in at a certain time, make sure that you're clocking in, make sure you're down to the minute. This is time abuse. Time abuse is vicious. And bullies, abusers, and narcissists use the same tool. It's that constant pounding us with urgency and staying on time, making sure you're doing things on time. This time abuse conditions us to constantly be urgent and make sure things are done by the clock. It is absolutely an aggressive form of classical conditioning. It's horribly abusive. And what that does is it conditions our cognitive core, our cognitive response, to have a very short reaction time. So that catalyst has it's basically Pavlov's dog. It's Pavlov's dog. So you hear bell ring and you jump. But the opposite of urgency is when you take meditation and you combine it with cognitive behavioral therapy. So that what you're doing is you are learning how to increase the reaction time between the cognitive response, the catalyst, and the reaction time. This, the bigger this space is, the more problem solving you can do. Problem solving stops when there's no reaction time. Now you've got fear. So fear goes away the more reaction time you have. so that as you increase this time, and it starts off slow, like a few seconds. Right now, when people get out of trauma, it's instant. It is like a fraction of a second. But using meditation, practice conscious awareness and cognitive behavior therapy, you are increasing it. Now, it might be 3 seconds, and then it becomes 5 seconds, and then it becomes 30 seconds, and then it becomes a minute. It took me 4 weeks because I know classical conditioning. It takes 4 weeks to do this. Well, if you have the logical skills, which everyone does, because intuitive logic, you have them. So what you're doing is you are consciously using meditation to, there's the catalyst. Instead of reacting, basically you are Pavloving, dogging yourself. You are conditioning yourself so that instead of a reaction, you're pausing. Catalyst, pause. Catalyst, pause. Wait. Just sit with it. Because their goal is to increase the reaction time. Then you react. Now, it takes longer and longer, and it keeps growing and growing until 24 hours passes. Now, after about 30 minutes, not even 20 minutes, it's no longer a trigger. So that you become fully in control of this. Now, with your reaction time expanded, now you have the ability to problem solve within that time period. Now, this is where you want to take Triadic Healing and plug it into that. So it's cognitive behavioral therapy and meditation. And then once you get that expanse open, Triadic Healing. And that's where I have logical formulas that I plug in, and it completely rewires and redirects. And it does so using your natural evolution, your learning mirror system, and your, what's the other one? There's 3 things that it does. It's the learning, it's the growth, natural evolution. Oh, I don't remember. I'll have to go back on it. Learning, growth. There's one other thing it naturally plugs right into. It's our mirroring learning response. Our growth with the 12 perspectives, our natural evolution. I want to say it's almost self-preservation. That's what it is. It's our self-preservation. And it uses natural self-preservation. So it's our learning, our self-preservation, and our growth. And because Triadic Healing plugs into those 3 things naturally, it's meditation and cognitive behavioral therapy. And then plugged into, and then when you get your reaction time spanned out, you plug in Triadic Healing and it takes over. This is how I did it. And it's basically using logical comprehension to eliminate the misunderstanding. That's it. And it eliminates cognitive behavior therapy. So that is how I cured mental illness. That's it right there. By cognitive behavioral therapy, Triadic Healing, plugging that in with logical comprehension. Once you have logical comprehension, it disrupts the entire process. It plugs right into your learning, your growth, your self-preservation, and it takes over for you. So you don't have to do anything. You just need information. It's just knowledge, education. And then once you do that, once you understand, then you remember who you are, you understand more. And it activates so that your learning spiral takes over. The learning spiral is your growth spiral. That's your evolution. So that we basically have this ladder. It's the 3-part system where it goes, you remember, you understand, and then you get the memory, you get the relief rush, which is a hormonal response. And that gives you the reward of, oh, that feels great. I can't wait. And you get excitement and anticipation. So it goes understanding, which is where my work plugs in. And then from understanding, you get the emotional response of relief, which releases hormones. And then the emotional response you get from that is excitement. Yeah, you get anticipation for it to happen again. You get excitement and anticipation, which is the learning emotional hormone of the second ethical perspective. So it's understanding, relief, excitement, anticipation, understanding, relief, and it starts to climb. So it gets you out of that. And then when you partner that with the seed drop, which I cover a lot of with the seed drop, so you understand, hey, this is how we learn. You climb out of depression, you climb out of your mental illness, you climb out of all of this. It's extraordinary. And this is all broken down in pieces in Theory of Love. This is what we're cover. So yeah, that is one of the things that's basically the conglomerate. That's all of it that I'm putting together. And then that's going into the book Theory of Love, and I've got the journey into the self for the workbook. And then healers are going to have the healing guide, which basically says, look, this is what's going on. These are the tools that you can use. This is the process I use. This is what you can expect. And I break it down based off of my research. This is what I'm noticing from patients, where case studies where they'll go A, B, C, this is the process. The process are the 5 stages of healing, which actually I just discovered a 6th stage. So I'll go over that in a moment here. But there is the knowing and the belonging. And then and those are really closely knit. And then you have the authority. After the authority, you have the naming, and then the owning. And then where I am now, I just had it the other day. Application. No, integration. That's what it was. It was the integration of all of those things. It was the integration. That was the 6th stage, which is where I am now. So you have the knowing, the belonging, the authority, the naming, and then the owning, and then you got to integrate it. So the 6th stage is integrating all of those, which is where I am now. So technically the knowing and the belonging are that's the first part. You know and you belong. And those are your first 3 ethics. And then the authority is 4th through 6th. The naming is the 7th through 9th. And then the owning is the 10th through 12th. And then the next stage is integrating all of those. And that again is per the Philosopher's Compass and the 12 ethics. So and this is where I'm getting into a problem, is the Philosopher's Compass and the 12 ethics they're symbiotic. They're part of the same thing. And this is where I went, whoa, this is deep. Pretty sure I know it is. I know it is. I'm just I can see it, but I can't quite unlock it. Fibonacci sequence is part of the 12 ethics. And what is his name again? We're going to do this over and over again. We're going to keep doing this until I get this all figured out, guys. What is his name? Cartesian. All right, who is this dude, Cartesian? Who are you? Cartesian. Are you a who? Okay, it's Descartes. If it's Descartes, then... Okay, the adjective Cartesian refers to the French mathematician and philosopher René Descartes, who published this idea in 1637 while he was residing in the Netherlands. He was independently discovered by Pierre de Fermat, who also worked in 3 dimensions. Although Fermat did not publish the discovery, the French cleric Nicole Oresme, I have no idea how to speak French, used constructions similar to the Cartesian coordinates well before the time of Descartes and Fermat. Where did this word come from? Is it a place? Is it Cartesian Paris or Cartesian France? Where did this Cartesian come from? Where is... Yeah, this is absolutely... Oh, I love this stuff so much. Oh my God, do I love this stuff. This is my happy place. I just want to know what this Cartesian... All right, so what is Cartesian? I want naming rights. Who is this Cartesian? Why? I have to understand Cartesian. What is Cartesian? Oh, it's his Latin name. Cartesian is Latin for Descartes. That's it. So it's Descartes. I love my brain. I love my brain. All right. So Cartesian. All right. So Cartesian just means Descartes. All right. So I apparently am a huge fan of the philosopher Descartes. René Descartes. All right. So it's Descartes. Descartes' coordinate system. Fascinating. All right. I am very happy right now. I'm very, very happy. Cartesian. All right. So now that's in my brain. And it's Latin. So now it's really in my brain. Cartesian. All right. So The Cartesian coordinate system is the 3 coordinates. It is how you define the 3 dimensions. First dimension being a point, which let's call that point of origin, A. There's no depth to it. It's nothing. It's just a single point. It doesn't tell you anything. You need 3 points. 2 will give you a line, but that doesn't show you anything. You need 3. You always need 3. And so you have a point of origin, and then you have an x-axis and a y-axis. And when you have 3 points, you get a triangle. And that center point in that dead center of the triangle, there's your 3 points. So you have point of origin, you have your x-axis, and you have your y-axis, and then you get a point in the dead center. And the point in that dead center is your new point of origin. And that births your next stage. And it goes in a spiral, which when you apply the Cartesian coordinate system with the Fibonacci sequence, and this is my work, it's the Cartesian coordinate system that is your philosopher's compass. And then you partner that up with the Fibonacci sequence of the 12 ethical stages. There's something there. There's something buried inside them, and I'm just like, so because it's a full integration system, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Like the first philosopher's compass is a 0. And then the second one, you've got 1 and you've got 1. But then you've got 2 and then you've got, oh, there it is. I think I found it. I think I found it. I know it's there. So you have your point of origin, which is 0, which is the defined self. That is the first compass. You start with 0 and it's defining the 1. And then you have comfort and you have adventure. That's your 1 and your 1. But then you need to take 1 and 1, and it gives you 2 plus the next 1, which is your next ethic. And that's when you learn trust. So that's the first part of the sequence I have figured out. And so far, yes, it's 0. And then 0 plus 1, and then it's 0, and then it's 1 plus 1, and then it's 2 plus 1, or 1 plus 2. I know it's there. I can feel it. I just got to find it. I can feel it. So yeah, the 12 ethical stages of perspective growth holds the Fibonacci sequence. It's there. And it's also in coordination with it's embedded in the Cartesian coordinate system. Really fucking cool, right? This is where the Euclidean geometry and the math really plug right into the logical proof that I've got happening here with psychology. So what that means for you is, so you want to define yourself. You want to know who you are. You need to know what you want. This is your first compass, 0. You start off with not knowing who you are, 0. So you want to know what you want. And for some reason, it's going to be clockwise. And then you basically do, and then you become, and therefore you are. Truly, what do you want? And you have to pick your qualities. This is going to be outlined in the book. You have to pick your qualities. And then you do the qualities. And then you become the qualities. And then you are. Now, the I am is your next philosopher's compass. That is your next new point of origin. So now you have the first ethic, which is basically you now taking the 0 and applying it to the 1, which is the first ethic, which is your 1. Now we're going to go counterclockwise. I don't know why that's important yet, but it's important. And then from there, you want your second ethic, which is also going to be second ethic. Your second ethic, which is your vulnerability and your adventuring. And then your third ethic is the integration of the first ethic and the second ethic, which will give you your trust. And then that is your next new point of origin. Your new point of origin then begins your third philosopher's compass, which now begins with the fourth ethical perspective, which counterclockwise takes down to the x-axis of the fifth ethical perspective, which gives you the y, and y is the integration. And that's where it stops. That's where I'm still trying to track the Fibonacci sequence. It's there somewhere. I just got to figure out where. Unless it's the 3 and the 2. No, wait. God, it's somewhere in there. I can feel you. Wow, it's driving me nuts. All right. I'll figure out that riddle later. So this is what I do. And as you go through these ethics, and we're going to talk about authority, power, control for a minute. This is something that I keep going back and forth with people. It's the constant comment that keeps coming back where people are like, what about power? What about power? Power, authority, and control. Massive, massive topic. Massive. This is like, remember when I said, I've got 5 different parts here, the authority, power, control, and the emotional transaction of human connection. This is it. This is the other part. And it's like, yeah, nature's already taken care of that. And I have a problem simplifying this. I've got it, but simplifying it is where I'm struggling. And it's something I keep going back and forth on because I'm like, how do I do this? I need simple words to break down what authority is because it's such an abstract. Authority is, I think that's it, it's the authorship. God, I need something simpler because I've been through this before, but and this is why I've been through it so many times, is because I don't have the precise word. And when I'm missing the precise word, when I'm lacking the summation, this is why you have to summarize it, is because you got all these words. You got all these words and you need to condense it down to simple understanding. For instance, a union divided against itself cannot stand. You have 5 parts of your cognitive core. If they are not aligned, they're not unionized, and you fall apart, hence mental illness. So you have to unite your entire mental health, your mental workings, in order to prevent and cure mental illness, which comes in through logical comprehension. So if I were to write this out in a formula, because I love formulas, they're my favorite thing in the world, it would be the self-union. That is the first part of the mental health, is self-union. The second part of mental health is logical comprehension. And the next part is emotional peace, emotional calm. Let's call it that. So you have the self-union, and then logical comprehension, and then emotional calm. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But that's not what's going on. What's going on is you end up with a divided self, which leads to logical miscomprehension, which leads to cognitive dissonance, which leads to emotional duress, which leads to mental illness. There. But you have to have the defined self in order to cure it. And then you have to regain logical comprehension. And then that will eliminate or restore emotional calm. Restore emotional calm via relief. And then you'll be stable again. So there it is. So you have the ideal situation. So you have the ideal situation. And then you have the common mental illness situation. It is really cold in my house. Really cold this morning. Elizabeth, is the heat on? The common mental illness situation. I'm going to say the common mental situation. Is the heat on? Are the heaters on? Okay. Is that what the problem is? Could you bring that over here, please? Thank you. I am cold. And then you have to restore to the ideal self. You know, there you go. So this is really, and I'm going to go ahead and update this now. So this is on my website. And like I said, link below, click on the comments and it will take you right to the, you can see, I update it as I do this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and add this here. That way you can follow along as I type this stuff out. And if I have worksheets, if I have PDFs for the day, they go here as well. All right, so there you go. So you have the ideal, you have, which is the self-union, logical comprehension, emotional calm. And then you have the common mental situation, which is the divided self, logical miscomprehension, cognitive dissonance, emotional duress, mental illness. I want to say here, then you have invasive perspective, which leads to mental illness. And then you have to restore to the ideal self, the defined self. You have to redefine the self, regain logical comprehension, restore emotional calm via relief. And there you go. It's right back again. So that's it in a nutshell. That's my work. We're done here. That's it. That's it exactly. So with these formulas, I love formulas because they simplify everything. So authority, power, control is a huge part of this. So that's how you have the philosopher's compass, which is part of it. Let me go ahead and back over to I need to stop writing my notebook. I need to put this here on the paper. I'm going to put it here on the paper. All right. So what we have here is you have the philosopher's compass. And then you have, well, you need cognitive behavioral therapy. And then you have the philosopher's compass. I'm also going to add here meditation. Meditation. What I actually do first before any of this is the genie bottle, the comfort zone. Because you need the comfort zone before we do any of this work, which is a big problem. And then adventure zone. So I'm going to start. So comfort zone, cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, then the philosopher's compass. The philosopher's compass with the cognitive gizmo gadget X. See, and this is where I'm just going to put in here Triadic Healing. And then adventure zone. There you go. And that's it. And then adventure zone. The adventure zone is where you want to be ideally. That's where you learn. That's where you grow. And then you're done. That's it. So it's basically getting you to the comfort zone and then cognitive and behavioral therapy, meditation, Triadic Healing, and then adventure zone. And there you go. It's done. It's done. So that is it. That is how I heal people. That's how I healed myself. And it's understanding. Again, we're back to the logical comprehension. So the logical comprehension is provided through Triadic Healing. Let me go ahead and put this down here. To restore, regain logical comprehension. So you define the self with the philosopher's compass. That's what it's for, is to regain this, to define the self, the philosopher's compass. And then regain logical comprehension. That's done through the theory of love, my book, The Theory of Love. And then restore emotional calm. There you go. Boop, that's it. So between the philosopher's compass and the theory of love, that's it. So that's the big picture. That's everything that I develop and deliver. And then you're basically able to just plug it right in. So really, once you understand that mental illness develops from a divided self, it's literally the civil divide of the self. That is the core of all of this, is the civil divide of the self. Yeah. Civil divide of the self. I like that better than the civil divide of the self. Once you understand that you have that there's parts to you, that you're not just one whole. And that's the problem, is everyone thinks, oh, I'm just one whole. Oh, no, you're not. There's a lot to you. There's a huge part to you. And once you break down and once you understand all the parts to you, you can start putting yourself back together again, and you can put yourself all back together. So yeah, in this third book, The Healer's Guide to Triadic Healing, I will be breaking down that process, so that the very first thing that I correct when it comes to therapy in general is giving them an overview, allowing people to understand the journey, understanding the healing journey. And then basically it's here's your outline. So it's the healing journey. And then it's why am I writing again? Because it's habit. That's why. So this is let me see here. I have the theory of love, which the release date on that is February 14th. And then I have the journey into the self. Yeah, journey into the self, which is going to be the corresponding workbook. Yeah, I needed a digest day where I just put my thoughts in order. Workbook. And that's going to be like 90 pages. And then after that, it's going to be the healer's guide. All right, there we go, which is 100% compatible with pretty much everything. So under the healer's guide for Triadic Healing, one of the things that I'm looking at is basically a understanding your healing journey. It literally gives you a full outline of what to expect. And then there's understanding the 7 parts of your mental health. And that's vital, is understanding what you are actually working with. Comprehending the union within. Oh, I love that. Blessing. Comprehending the union within. And then it's organizing that union. There you go. And you're organizing that union. And then the theory of love steps in and it goes from there. So it allows you to really, there it is this is the overview, this is the big picture, this is what I worked, this is what worked for me, this is what did not work for me. And the very first thing is, do not tell people, this is going out to all psychologists, do not tell people that there is no cure. That's like suicide juice. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, and it's common. Oh my God, is it common? I've had so many people come to me and like, yeah, they told me there's no cure. And when I was told that there's no cure, I contemplated suicide that night. I was like, why am I trying? Why bother? If there's no hope, don't tell people there's no cure. Just because somebody else doesn't know it, because somebody else is ignorant. It's something I'm very, very upset about because it causes significant damage. Like the abusers were one thing. The abuse from psychologists, and that's just it. Psychologists abuse us. Not all of them, but there's quite a bit of psychological abuse happening from professionals. And when they say there's no cure, that is gaslighting because it's giving us a false reality. What they really should be saying is that we know of. I don't know of any cure, is what they should say. And they should know better. They do know better because they understand psychology. So to walk in and I remember talking with my dear friend about this, where she was explaining to me, they told me that they were told prior that there's no cure. I said, yeah, that's common. That's very common. She goes, how could you say that to somebody? It's done all the time. Psychologists, a lot of psychologists tell patients right off, oh, there's no cure. Well, what the fuck am I doing here? And it's if you're looking to, oh my God, it's, and they knew I was struggling with suicide. They knew I had suicidal ideation at that time. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Really healing this, the union divided. And this is what's going on. This is it really. This is the core of all mental. You have an intuitive logic that tells you on such a deep internal level that the world is X. And you know it. You know it. There is no name for what you feel. There is no known logical sense to what your intuitional logic knows. But you know it. And we have the rest of the world invalidating that logic. And so we doubt our instinct. We doubt our intuitive logic. We doubt the very first natural gut feeling that tells us what a situation is and what we are dealing with. And our loved ones, through their abusive, conditional training, contradict our own. That's where it starts. That is where this all starts. By them telling us, Don Quixote, what is, what they were told it is, when we know deep what it really is. Our own perception of reality and our own abilities to define that reality are compromised. And the self turns on the intuition. I know there's an abstract world. I know it. I lived there. I map it. I walk it. I live there. I'm not okay unless I'm there. I'm just not. You can't see it, but you can feel it. Logic proves it. Math proves it. Physics proves it. But you can't see it. But you feel it. You know it's there. And it is vast, and it is powerful, and it is extraordinary. And a lot of people are scared fucking shitless over that world because they don't understand it. And because it exists free of any known defined logic, your sanity is now on the line. But I had my sanity taken away from me and denied from me a long time ago. So I had nothing to lose. I had everything to gain by transversing into that world. Traversing or transversing? One moment, because there's two different words here. I need to make sure I'm using them right. I'm pretty sure it's traversing. Yep, traversing. Traverse. To traverse. Traversing. I had everything to gain by traversing through that world. Everything. Because they already took away my sanity. And I trusted my intuition. I knew there was something there. Hell, fuck, I lived there. So while the world was taken away from me in the material plane, while they stripped everything away from me, my dignity, my honor, my modesty, my privacy, everything was ripped away from me. I was a shell of a human being. The only thing that I had that was mine that they could not touch was my understanding of the abstract world. They couldn't touch it. That's why they take it away from you, is because they cannot control you there. So they target it. It's literally you and the abstract world versus them. And everybody is in on it. But you know it. You know it like people of faith know what they feel. You know it like you know when something doesn't feel right. That's the abstract world. That is your intuitive logic speaking. That's your circadian rhythm telling you it's time to get up. That's that gut feeling you have that says something's not right. You know it. And the biggest threat to the material plane is the abstract world, because the abstract world cannot be controlled. And that's the truth. Bottom line is you cannot control the abstract world. There is no controlling the abstract world. And the people who walk there. Bottom line. When they took away my insanity, and I had that moment of, I'm already literally as insane as anyone could be called. I got nothing to lose. And when I realized that I could walk into the abstract plane and actually start defining it using logic, what I discovered was, because of logic, physics, math, I could start proving to the can't doers, you're fucking wrong. Here's the math. Take it up with Euclidean. Well, take it up with Euclid. Take it up with Pythagoras. Take it up with Descartes. Take it up with Fibonacci. Now, I don't think Fibonacci was a person. I got to go check now. He was a person, but he wasn't. His name was not Fibonacci. Pingala. Pingala. So the more into the abstract I walked, the more I found my own sanity. And the more I was able to walk back to the material plane and say, here's the math, now fuck off. And I actually started to regain my sanity because the logic backed it up. And that's really, there is the abstract plane. We live in parallel to it. For fuck's sake, time, money, and math come from there. And they sit there in the same breath and deny its existence when they're using our time, using our math, and using our money. And I'm going, what the fuck do you get off using abstract concepts in the material plane while you deny the abstract's existence? The abstract is real. Oh, fuck damn, is it real? It is the internal expanse. And it takes risking all of sanity to traverse there, to walk there, to go there. And that is exactly what the 12 ethical perspectives are, is it is the descent into, it's funny, descent. It is the descent into the abstract. A lot of people, and this is something that cracks me up, is the condescending arrogance of the material plane. I'm going to write this one down. The condescending arrogance. The condescending arrogance of the material plane has us saying things like awakened and ascending. Which is so pretentious. When in fact, It is a descent into the abstract. For you are walking into the depths of the unknown and undefined world of the mind. That one's a pretty quote. I like that one. And that's it right there. That is the abstract. And it's we have these rules. Okay, you're allowed math, you are allowed physics, you're allowed anything that's measurable. Oh, and you're allowed your imagination, your playground, and your make-believe. But only up to a certain point. After that, you're crazy. Because adults don't play, God forbid. And then you have this other pocket over here of, well, that's mental illness. And the thing is, mental illness is the barrier. It's the, well, you're playing in the abstract in such a way that I don't like because I don't understand it. And that is, in fact, what we refer to mental illness as insane. This is where it gets kind of dirty and disgusting. This is where it gets dirty and disgusting, is mental illness is classified as insane. But if you break down the actual meaning behind these words, what is deemed as insane is actually translated via logic to mean, quote, you lack any logical comprehension that I am aware of. Therefore, in my calling you insane, I am actually admitting my own lack of logical comprehension. Your insanity is my ignorance. Actually, your insanity is an admission to my own ignorance. That is what insane means. Interesting, isn't it? So that now you have all the power. Welcome to power. This is the real power. Is when you understand something like that. Suddenly it's oh, well, I can now take my knowledge, my information, and I can now walk into the world and plug in my own logical comprehension, because your perceived reality is absolutely at the mercy of your logic. And that's really it. Is your perceived reality is at the mercy of your personal logic. And you don't owe it to anyone to explain it to anybody. How dare they? It's the worst judgment anyone can put on any other person. The only insanity truly is when you don't understand the self. You're the only one that has to understand the self. You don't understand the self, now you're going to run into problems. Other people, fuck them. It's not their business. You need to understand you. And the more you understand who you are, the more you understand what is going on with your mind. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're insane. Don't ever let them. Because what they're really doing is admitting their own ignorance on your logical health. And that's not information that they should have. That's not information that they are entitled to. And they forget their selves. That's exactly it, is they forget their place. I'm the one who walks around going, you forget yourself, sir. Oh, that is very much me. You forget yourself. You are not entitled to my opinion. Nor is anyone entitled to your opinion. That is the authority. That is the power. You deciding who gets your privileged information. You have authorship over that. No one else. You are not obligated to tell anybody your personal logic. So if someone looks at you and deems you insane, crazy, calls you a name, excuse you, you forget yourself. You do not gain privilege to my personal logic. Oh, I am so going to make this a trending thing to say to people. Like that is my goal in life, is to make this shit trending. And it's truth. It is absolutely our personal truth that not one single person is obligated to share vulnerability. And that is truly what vulnerability is. It is the openness, the access to an individual. And we're walking around with this concept today of, oh, I'm entitled to your vulnerability. You are not entitled to my vulnerability. None of us are entitled to anyone else's vulnerability. It is a privilege. And when people come along, abusers come along and they bully us and then they condemn us and they damn us, it's like, excuse you. You are not privileged to my vulnerability. It's one of the standoffs I had with my brother. It was one of the last things where I finally said no. He wanted to use me as a debate partner, but he had no respect. He wanted to pick my brain and expand on his intelligence, but at my expense. He wanted to make himself feel powerful and in control, but at my expense. And I tried for about a year, and I made it clear to him, look, you gaslight me, and I'm going to tell you. You push me, and I'm going to tell you. You disrespect me. You cross my boundaries, and I'm going to tell you. Almost every time I spoke to my brother, he violated my boundary until I finally said, no, you're cut off. You do not know how to have a conversation with me without violating my boundaries, because you do not understand how to respect somebody's boundaries. Therefore, you don't have privilege to me. So I cut him off. That's boundaries. It's not the telling of, it's not the warning of, it's not the threat of, it's the action of. It is the action of saying, this is the line in the sand. You do not get privileged access. It's literally the denying of access that is boundary setting. And it's, once you understand that, it's a whole lot of power that you get to determine who has access to your beautiful pearl. And you are the pearl. Your vulnerability is the pearl. Don't cast it before just anybody. Be cautious with it. Be careful with it. It's your vulnerability on the line. And anytime somebody calls you insane, excuse them. What the fuck? I don't recall ever giving you or granting you privilege, and it's a privilege, to my vulnerability. Why would I ever invite you in and show you what my vulnerability is when you don't even have the decency to be respectful to me on the outside? So no, I'm not going to give you my vulnerability. I'm not going to give you privileged access to my logical comprehension. You can remain ignorant of my logical comprehension. There is a reason for my crying. There is a reason for my turmoil. There is a reason for everything. Nothing is without reason. Only our ignorance. Yeah, I'm really enjoying today. I needed today. I needed to sit down and just digest. I'm at this point in my life. Before, it was at a crossroads where it was just oh, I got to go this way or I got to go this way. And those points in my life are done. Well, there's civil union. When you have civil union, you get rid of the crossroads. There's no more crossroads. When you have civil union, it becomes a milestone. And there are no more crossroads. When you feel like you are at a crossroad in life, well, that's the civil divided. That's your subconscious mind wanting this. That's your belief system feeling this. But that's your intuition going, no, that's where you need to go if you want this. Well, I want this. Well, then you need to go there. And it's not. And here's the other thing. This is really big. Are we all paying attention for this one? Because this one's big. We think pain comes from outside. We think pain comes from the catalysts on the outside. So controllers and abusers try to control the catalysts on the outside. It's not the catalysts in the outsiders that cause us pain. It is the doubt within the self that causes the pain. Outsiders remind us of our doubt. And you can either address the outsider, which is control and abuse, or you can address the belief system inside of you, or you can go to the core and locate the actual cognitive dissonance and where the union is divided. And understanding how the union is divided is vital to this process. I got to get off the paper, because how the union is, and this is it exactly, is knowing how the union is divided. We're going to go ahead through this. Knowing how the union is divided. Knowing how the union is divided is knowing what you want, and that be your beautiful identity. Feeling what is from your intuitive logic, your intuition. Knowing what is right, and that would be from your ethics. Feel good, logic, intuition. Does it feel right, your ethics? Does it give you joy, your identity? That's why I say those three things. Does it feel right, your ethics? Does it feel good, your intuition? And does it give you joy, identity? And if you cannot say yes to all three questions, you've got a problem. You must be unanimous. And the pain does not come from outside. It does not come from anything else other than your intuition, your ethics, and your identity all being aligned. They must be aligned. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. This is how the union is divided. 100%. Why? There you go. That is so not what I wanted. I'm still learning how to use tech. I am incompetent when it comes to tech. I truly am. There you go. Knowing how the union is divided is what you want, feeling what is from your intuitive logic, knowing what is right, asking the questions, does it feel right? Does it feel good? Does it give you joy? Now, your belief system is what comes into play a lot of times. And I'm going to break it down so that we're going to remove the belief system out of this and break down the belief system even further, because there's three components to the belief system. Observe and inventory a current situation. And that is part of your beliefs. The next part of this is consider your rate of growth. And that is your ethics. Consider who you are now in the present. And this is your identity. I'm going to say your ethical identity. Your ethical identity, that's something new. I have not said that before. Your ethical identity, I'm going to do this. Your ethical identity is your current ethical perspective. This is your authentic perspective. It is not the one that your parents forced you into. And when you observe your inventory of the current situation, and then you consider your rate of growth, and then you consider who you are now in the present, that is what gives you your beliefs. That is where your beliefs are coming from. When those questions are all aligned, then, and only then, summarize the situation based off of, summarize the situation based off of these conclusions, these answers. That is your current perspective, reality. And that's it right. What the fuck? That is it right there. That is what a lot of people like. I can do this. I know I can. There. There we go. So, update. So that's it right there. That's knowing how the union is divided. When you go through those questions, these will be in the workbook. When you go through those questions, breaking down the self that intricately, oh, well, you're set, you're done. And the philosopher's compass breaks down even further, like how to define the self and all the different parts of it with the first compass. So as you define these things, as you figure out, oh, that's how I'm divided. Oh my God, does it clear everything up? And it is vital that you leave the conclusion alone, that you do not go in with the agenda of prioritizing a desired result. That is big. That is core to this. A lot of people, cognitive dissonance happens when you desire an outcome, so you prioritize the conclusion above that process. It is vital that you do not prioritize or get attached to any conclusion. My recommendation is prioritize the cognitive harmony, prioritize the union, prioritize those things. And it's interesting because I'm applying this now to my own life with my partner, and it's extraordinary. I call him my partner. But if people from the material plane were to look at our situation, they would say, you have no relationship in your exes. Yeah, I know. And my identity says no. And my belief system says no. And my ethics say no. And my intuition says no. So according to my identity, my intuition, and my beliefs, the situation is X. And even though on the material plane, it's Y. And every time I contradict X, X, and X, because I know what I feel, and I know what I want, and I know what I believe, and I have substantial evidence that proves it. Therefore, the situation is X. He's got a problem with accepting love. So he comes in and says, no, the situation is this, even though his behavior, his actions, and everything else corresponds to X, which is why my beliefs are the way they are. And even still, if he were to change, it'd be fine. That's perfectly fine. This is where it gets really, really interesting. And I only have emotional turmoil and conflict when I agree with the words coming out of his mouth. But the feelings he gives me, the actions he gives me, it's a whole different creature. Like I said, he's got dissonance inside of him. He's got civil divide. This is very, very common. He has civil divide. And because he has civil divide, his identity is my X. And his ethics are my X. His beliefs, those fucking beliefs, are Y. So his actions, well, no, his actions are X, and that's where I am. So I'm sitting here going, okay, so I've got two identities on X. I've got two beliefs on, or I'm sorry, I've got two ethics on X. I've got my beliefs on X. My intuitive logic is on X. His intuitive logic is on X, but his beliefs are Y. So he has limiting beliefs Y with a fear system that's on Y. And as a result, he has inconsistent words that are on Y, but not all the time. He has other words that are on X. So I had to go with the majority. And that's where I realized, oh, I have civil divide. And when I look at the evidence and I put all of it together, I'm like, oh, we all have to be on the majority, which is X. Because I have to first and foremost take care of my own union. But then when you take into account, and this is where it gets sticky, as long as we stay away from what the society defines, it doesn't apply to either one of us. And ironically, neither one of us can ethically follow the guidelines that are set down by the society. The society is the problem here. Every time we remove the society from our relationship, oh, it's a gorgeous relationship. It's fine. As soon as we put that societal garbage inside of it, both of us have turmoil because love and freedom cannot coexist. according to society. Bottom line, that's it. Love and freedom cannot exist according to our society. It is absolutely in contrast. And so when you are in love, you give up freedom. Now, for me and for him, that's not okay. We both have to have our freedom. We are both like, we need our freedom. And I found a way where I can go, oh, love with him allows me freedom. And then that's it right there, is I can have love and freedom with him, which is rare. And he doesn't think that he can have love and freedom at the same time. He's working that out. That's why he's on walkabout. So once you have something in your life that's identified as where do you have, and here's the other thing, where you have your civil divide is what's going to cause you problems. So you might have no civil divide on money and you're fine. You might have no civil divide on your relationships and you're fine. You might have civil divide in another category. So there's civil divide, but you have different categories. So you might be great with some things and horrible with others. Let me go back to yesterday's post because I did this on yesterday's post. Where is it? Oh, where is it? There's something here. Let me see here. How do I kind of, there was something I wrote down where I broke down the full. It was not yesterday. It was the categories. I remember now. I had the categories of beliefs. And this is vital to understanding the categories of your beliefs. Because when we have the categories for our beliefs, let me see if it's down in this PDF here. No, okay, it's going to be at a different. All right, it's at a different. It wasn't yesterday's. I think it was the day before. Oh, inside look into beliefs. That's where it was. It was January 16th. That's where it was. I broke down the parts of the belief system. Here it is, abstract reality. Oh, I love this thing. Your abstract reality. There it is. All right, so your abstract reality belief categories. You have your love and romance, your career and your skills, your defined self, your ethics. You have your politics, your ethics, your environment. Actually, the defined self is going to be your identity, what your identity wants. Your politics, your ethics, your environment, your friendships, community, family, your children, parenting, death, the afterlife, religion, and the abstract world. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are your 8 categories of your abstract civil divide, 8 pieces. So if you are not in union with all of these 8 categories, you're going to suffer. So you might be great on 7 of them, but you might have civil divide on another subject. So that's really vital to understand how your civil divide can affect your life. It's not just one category, it's 8. So you're going to have to go through this civil divide, this process 8 times, knowing how the union is divided. And let me put this down here once more. I want to make sure that I have access to this so you guys can just plug it right in. So the 8 categories of civil divide. I'm going to say potential civil divide. And they are, I wish I could copy, cut, paste. I know I have it set up so that I can't. Can I? It's a PDF. Maybe I can. Looks like I can. Yay, I can. That's going to simplify. I don't have to type all that out. I can just copy, paste it. Yay. All right. All right. So, I'm hungry. All right. So there we go. So you have, these are, all right, let me go ahead. I'm going to read this off to you. Let me just clean up the formatting, update. There we go. All right. So you have, again, this is on the PDF down below. If you click on the link, it takes you to my page. You can see what I'm working on so you can follow along. The 8 categories of potential civil divide is you have love and romance. You have career and your skills, the defined self, identity, and what you love and what you want and what you believe you can have. That's what that is. And then you have your politics, ethics, and your environment, your friendships, community, family, your children and parenting, death, the afterlife, and religion, and our known defined reality and the abstract world. Let me update this. There you go. So that is the 8 categories of potential subdivide. So when you are looking at how the union is divided, you need to apply it to all of these 8 categories and challenge your beliefs. I walk through how to challenge your beliefs on the 16th. I'm going to reference that so you guys can. How to challenge your beliefs is from 16 January 2024. You can view the information here. And I'm going to pull from that and hyperlink it in. That way you guys can just do the work right there. Bloop. Easy peasy. There you go. Update. I feel like a teacher with a blackboard, but there's no blackboard. So I'm using this thing here so you guys can listen to me while you're like following along with this thing. It's so much easier, right? Oh, I love it. I love it so much. This is another one of those things where I'm putting together and I'm going, how can I do this? Because I love teaching. Oh my God, do I love teaching. But I also am putting together like a Q&A and where I'm going to be available like an open office hours where I'm available for Q&A. And you guys can reference whatever. I'm still organizing it and it's coming. If you guys want to get updates, I have a mailing list and that's located in the link below. You can click on my sign up for my mailing list. I send out an article every day with philosophical coffee. And like I said, after this, I haven't done the article yet today. So I'm going to write an article after philosophical coffee. And the article is sent through my Substack. And that goes through my emailing address, or my emailing list gets it along with philosophical coffee. And so if you want to get this every day delivered to your inbox, it's all there. It includes the post for the day. It includes all of it. And every day I have the post, the article, and philosophical coffee so that if you miss something, it's there. You guys can go through it however you need. If there's any PDFs or workshops that I do or worksheets, I put it all there as well. It's all condensed and dropped there. And then in between and this is all on my blog, so you can see where there it is. And I'm changing the blog name. Currently my blog is called Beyond the 12th, but I'm going to change it to The Classroom so that my blog is actually going to be called The Classroom. And all the pages that are in The Classroom is going to be converted over to the blog so that The Classroom and Beyond the 12th are going to merge. And that's going to be called The Classroom so that I will have The Classroom in correspondence with philosophical coffee so that you guys can do this one-on-one. And then what I'm going to be doing is basically an open Q&A where if you guys want to ask questions, if you want to present whatever, I will be available for that. It's going to be a Socratic method learning. It's going to be a learning area based 100% on philosophical, the Library of Alexandria, University of Alexandria. It's going to be a very philosophical space. I will probably also be bringing in some of my philosophical friends, so we'll have different perspectives. 2 people in mind specifically will basically be an open panel discussion. And these are people who are very familiar with my work. And one of them is a licensed psychologist of 30 years, in addition to a wonderful philosopher. I have like another person I think who will also be joining us, but it's going to be an open panel where it's all of us coming together. And you guys can basically bombard us with a Q&A. You can ask us for advice on your own life situation. You can present your own situation. And then it's just coming in so that if you want the engagement, if you want the one-on-one, that's it. That is a private thing only. And that corresponds with that. So if you want any of this information, if you want to receive the daily summation of philosophical coffee with my workshops, with my PDFs, with all of this, sign up for my mailing list. That's down below. Yeah, I think trying to figure out what else I have coming up. And like I said, right now we're working on distribution and getting that set up so that we can just drop this into the deep level and then trickle it down. Yeah, we are currently focusing on distribution. And then from there, we are looking at also releasing my books, which are coming along very well. And then we'll have I have my podcast, which I love, and I will probably do the podcast for the rest of my life. And then we have um, the Q&A. Yeah. I almost want to turn my summits into my open Q&A. That would be really fucking awesome. Is turning my summits into the open Q&A. 3 days full access. Yeah, I think I like that a lot. 3 days full access. And it'll be basically an open panel discussion for 3 days where you can go in and you can ask myself and my comrades about the situation. So that would be interesting. And I only do those. I don't know yet the timing. That's something I would probably ask about. Maybe I'll do a poll. Actually, let me see. I think I can do a poll on YouTube. Let me do that now. I'll set up the poll because that would be really, really awesome. Community image poll. All right. So the question is, if you were to have an open community, but no, an open Q&A with Anna, how often would you want this made available? And I'm going to put here weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And that would be 4 times a year. If you were to have an open Q&A with Anna, how often would you want this? How often would you want grammar? If you were to have an open Q&A with Anna, how often would you want? At what frequency? Let's go over to physics. At what frequency? How often would you want open access? Weekly, monthly, or quarterly? Okay, why is it not letting me post? Interesting. Let me try something different because I think it's only giving me the option. Oh, text poll. That's why. I see. So weekly, monthly, and quarterly. This would be 4 times a year. Oh, there we go. All right, so it's posted. I'm going to go ahead and share it. Nope, it's not letting me. Where's the link that I can? Come on. No, it's not going to let me. All right, so it's not going to let me do it. All right, well, it's in my community on YouTube. I cannot. Oh, here it is. There's the post. So I'm going to click on that. All right, so I can. So let me go ahead and drop it down here. So I'm going to drop the link below. So if you want to vote, you can. Click, click, click. There. Participate. I can spell participate. Participate in the poll. There we go. All right, so if you click on the link below, participate in the poll, you can click down there and then you can answer the question weekly, monthly, quarterly. And then, because right now I have the summits scheduled, and that's going to be, but that's quarterly. But let me know if you want weekly, monthly, quarterly. That's something available. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this over here. Participate in the poll. There we go. It's giving me here. Yeah, it's not letting me. All right. So there we go. Participate in the poll. Okay, so how often would you like Anna to be available for? Why is this question going along so smoother than the others? For open Q&A. Participate in the poll here. That question is so much clearer. I'm going to replace it with my other hodgepodge. How often would you like Anna to be available for open Q&A? Participate in the poll here. All right, so that's now on my post as well. I'm going to go back over to this thing and edit it because apparently, no, how do I do this? There. Is it not letting me? It's not giving me an option to. Oh, well. Oh, there it is. If you were having an open Q&A with Anna, how often would you want open access? So there you go. Let me know, and we'll go from there. So that about covers it. I really needed today to just kind of condense and compress my thoughts into this is where I am. So yeah, I'm at a milestone right now. And I have research days where I'm doing a lot of research and I'm going forward with it. I have other days where I'm having breakthroughs and other days where I'm like, let's do a class. But then I have other days where I'm like, I'm here and I don't want to do anything. And I just want to engage. And probably on those days, I'll talk about my cat's strange behavior. And then, oh my God, I have to tell you what he did the other day. So I have I have this cloth, this fabric, and he's obsessed with it. And he won't leave it the fuck alone. It's a tapestry. And I had it on the table when it first arrived, and then it fell on the floor because he would knock it down. And he's very mischievous, and he's not an intelligent cat. Now, his sister is very, very sweet, and she's very, very just sweet. She's very, very sweet. She's very gentle, and she's very not mischievous. She's very straightforward. And I looked over and I saw the cat inside the fabric on the floor about a week ago. And I went, oh, the poor kitty. And I walked over and I went, oh, Spriggan, it's okay, you're bored. And I'm like pulling off the fabric to help the cat escape. And it's midnight. It's the uneducated one. And I went, midnight, you dumbass. And I had this moment of interesting how I have these two biases with the cats. If it's Spriggan, it's, oh, you poor thing. But if it's midnight, it's you dumbass. and it's really like, it's fascinating because if it were Spriggan, she gets the whole, oh, you poor thing. But with midnight, it's you're an idiot. And it's midnight is, oh my God, he's the one who picks up the salt container and carries it around. And he's the one, like, he's just such a weird, he's the one who goes, oh, it's lap time, toilet. And he's the one who turns your lap into his cushion when you're on the toilet. No other time, just that time. Whereas Spriggan is this very gentle. Last night I was on the couch and Spriggan came over and she's purring and she like crawls into my lap so sweet like, and she settles down and she's doing this purry cute thing. And it's like, oh, where's midnight? He needs to be taught how lap cats are done properly. and that's the difference between Spriggan and midnight. And he's a dumbass. He's I can't even say he's sweet. He's the kind of cat you walk past him and he goes, "Ka!" and he grabs you. And you're like, what the fuck, you cat? And he's the one where you're sitting there with the food, dishing it out, and Spriggan will stand there and yowl at you, but he will reach up with his toe beans and be like, food, and look, what the fuck? So he is like, oh, they've got different personalities, and he very much, he is the, he's something else. He's something else. But Spriggan, yes. Spriggan is, yeah, she's to get her attention or her it's an honor to be blessed with Spriggan. Midnight's just a moose. We call him the moose cat because he's a moose. He causes more mischief. He's just all about his ball of mischief. Whereas Spriggan is a lady. And it's hilarious to watch the dichotomy of their personalities. So that's my cat story of the day. Yeah. My daughter is sitting here giggling over my cat stories. All right. I am going to thank you so much for your audience today, and may the kindest of words always find you.